They told you history is written by the victors. But what if I told you the victors are still lying to you right now? What if the past you've memorized isn't a roadmap to truth? It's a cage designed to keep you from questioning the present. Pause for a second. Imagine everything you know about heroes, wars, and progress crumbling like a house of cards. That's where we're headed. Stick around, because once you hear this, you'll never look at a history book the same way again. Before you decide to leave this video, ask yourself one question. If history is honest, then why do powerful people fear questions? From the moment you were born, stories were chosen for you. Not by teachers, not by scholars, but by those who rule. Names you were told to respect. Wars you were told were necessary. Empires you were told brought civilization. But civilization does not begin with chains. Progress does not arrive with blood, and truth does not survive under power. This video is not comfortable. It is not patriotic. It is not safe. This is the history they never wanted you to know. Long before modern nations existed, human beings were not ignorant animals waiting to be saved by empires. They were builders, thinkers, observers of the sky. Across the planet, structures stand that do not fit the official timeline. Massive stones cut with precision modern machines struggle to copy. Cities aligned with stars, temples older than history itself. But instead of asking how, history books laugh. They say ancient humans were simple, primitive, uneducated. Yet these same primitive humans built monuments that survived earthquakes, floods, and thousands of years of erosion. Ask yourself honestly, would a civilization that knew nothing leave behind perfection? Knowledge is dangerous because once people know, they stop obeying blindly. That is why knowledge has always been burned, libraries destroyed, scrolls erased, languages wiped out. The Library of Alexandria did not burn by accident. It burned because knowledge does not serve empires. What we lost there was not paper, it was memory, medicine that healed without profit, astronomy that mapped the universe without satellites, engineering that challenged gravity. History calls it a tragedy, but power calls it success. Because when people forget their past, they accept any future. Religion entered history as faith, but power reshaped it into control. God was no longer guidance. God became permission. Permission to conquer, permission to kill, permission to rule without question. Kings no longer needed wisdom. They claimed divine right. If you opposed them, you opposed God. If you questioned them, you were a heretic. Millions died not because God demanded it, but because power needed obedience. And whenever belief became too independent, it was rewritten, texts edited, meanings changed, interpretations controlled. Faith survived, truth didn't. Empires rose calling themselves saviors, but salvation came with chains. The British Empire did not civilize the world, it consumed it. Gold flowed one way, blood flowed the other. India fed Britain while its people starved. Africa was carved like meat on a table. America was built on bones. Native civilizations were not discovered, they were erased. Languages disappeared, histories vanished, entire cultures reduced to footnotes, and the conquerors called it progress. War has never been about freedom, that is the lie. War is about control, land, resources, and fear. Every war begins with speeches, ends with graves. World War I taught nothing. World War II perfected destruction. Cities turned to ash. Children learned the sound of bombs before words. And when nuclear fire fell from the sky, history called it necessary. Necessary for whom? Not for the dead, not for the burned, not for the generations poisoned by radiation, but necessary for power. Because fear is profitable. Behind every war, the same names appear. Weapons manufacturers, banks, corporations. While soldiers die for flags, others count profits. And when the war ends, another begins. Not with bombs, with media. Media is the modern historian. What you see becomes truth. What you don't see disappears. A protest becomes a riot. An invasion becomes a mission. A lie becomes breaking news. Reality is edited, context removed, emotion manufactured. People are not informed, they are guided. Governments learned something dangerous. They don't need to hide truth, they only need to drown it. Experiments were conducted in silence, people injected without consent, minds broken in the name of science, entire communities used as test subjects. Documents later revealed what history tried to bury. These were not mistakes, they were decisions, and no one went to prison, because the system does not punish itself. Today, power is no longer visible. There are no crowns, no thrones. Control sits in boardrooms, moves through algorithms, hides behind policies. You are told you are free, but your choices are designed. You can vote, but only between approved options. You can speak, but only until it threatens power. Truth today is dangerous not because it is rare, but because it spreads. That is why whistleblowers are hunted, journalists silenced, truth labeled conspiracy, because once people connect patterns, lies collapse. History was never meant to educate you. It was meant to shape you, to teach obedience, to reward silence, to punish curiosity. But there is something they underestimated: human memory. Truth always returns, in fragments, in ruins, in forbidden books. Every empire that controlled history eventually fell, not because of enemies, but because lies rot from within. You are not weak. You were trained to forget. You were taught answers so you wouldn't ask questions. But now you are here, listening. And once you see history differently, you can never unsee it. The world you live in was not built by heroes. It was shaped by power. And power fears one thing above all: an awake mind. Because weapons can be taken, voices can be silenced, bodies can be controlled, but a person who knows the truth is impossible to rule. History is still being written right now. The question is not what they want you to believe. The question is, will you believe them?